I'm introducing on this video the judgment and denial release process. It's the second process. I have 4 processes. The empowerment process, which I've gone over a bit. Judgment and denial release process. Emotional release process. And talking to the parts of self process. This judgment and denial release is real critical because that's where you can do a lot. That's where you can reach out and find things and actually do something. So I'll review this, that language lessons the heart is a process, right? That means you have to do it, not just think about it. A process of how you can heal and evolve your emotional body so as to end the pain of past events. And to be very clear, you got wounded, how this stuff got stuck into you, by an automatic, subconscious, nonverbal, and non-visual process. Bing, bang, boom, and now you got this thing in your head. And language lesson heart is to reverse that process. So to reverse that process, what happens to you is natural. So if there's a natural reversing of it, you reverse this natural human process of wounding. We take what is automatic, just natural automatic, and turn it into a method, a ritual. We take what is subconscious, it's happening, you don't know this happening, and you make it conscious. Oh, I see it's happening, it's conscious. You're conscious of what that actual statement is, or what that event is. So you make the subconscious conscious, and you take what is non-verbal. This is going on, internal chatter, but you don't hear it. And you make it verbal. You'd externalize it. This is what happened. This is my judgment that. So you make it non-verbal, you make it verbal. And you take what was non-visual and make it visual. And that is, every judgment and every belief that you have is somebody judging you, somebody denying you, somebody blaming you, somebody whatever. There's somebody there. And it doesn't have to be your mom or dad or God or anything like that. It can just be like this invisible, not kind of like a ghost figure or stick figure. Because it's not a real thing, it's an imaginary thing. So maybe it is your mom, or maybe it is your uncle, or whoever might have hurt you, but maybe it's just them or they, and it's sort of like this, just a figure of a being, but they are the ones that judge you, and they are the ones that hurt you, or they are the ones that are going to reject you. So you make it visual. And so what is denial, and what has denial got to do with anything? Well, what denial is something that is in your pocket, it's in your subconscious, and you don't know about it, you can't deal with it, it's just happening. It's a process in your computer that's running, that's making glitches, making you feel bad or whatever it is. And denial is what you really don't want. You want to know what's going on. You want to know what's going on in your operating system. You want to know what's holding you back, or what puts limits on you, or makes you feel bad, or makes you feel anxious, or makes you feel depressed. You want to know that. You really do. Yeah. So, denial release is a big deal. And there's a form for it. First, if you find the denial, I'm going to use the sample judgment, the judgment of I'm not good enough. So everybody in the world has this judgment to one degree or another. It's a universal, primal, very ancient judgment. I'm not good enough. That means from that kernel, all kinds of I'm not a good enough man, not a good enough woman, not a good enough person, not a good enough student, whatever. It's powerful and it's deep, but it's very simple. But most of the people don't know that they have it. You don't think as you walk along the street, I'm not good enough. It's just an operating thing. You meet somebody who's dressed better than you, and you go, oh, and you have this reaction. And the reaction is, I'm not dressed good enough. Or I'm not financially as good as I should be, or whatever. But to have it conscious, that's what you want, because then you can deal with it. So, in the beginning, denial release is a big deal. So first you feel, let's say now you've got this headline, I'm not good enough. That's what's in denial. That's this little thing floating around there. Then you feel the comfort, because this is the thought, a feeling. Thought, feeling, thought, feeling. The thought of I'm not good enough makes you feel like you're not good enough. It makes you diminished. Makes you feel bad. Makes you feel inadequate. So whatever the statement is, there are hundreds of them, but whatever the statement is, you feel the discomfort of it. That I don't want that. That's yucky. That's stinking thinking. That's not true. It's whatever. You just feel the discomfort of the denial of the judgment. I'm not so like because you don't know that it operates in your life. So we're talking about denial here, and then the ritual, the method. The statement is going to be a very ritualized statement. There are things: recognize, loving acceptance, I forgive myself, and the release and replace. These are very steps that you take, things that you say. So the first thing you say is, I recognize my denial that I'm not good enough. Now, so you're not talking about the judgment, I'm not good enough. You're talking about the denial of I'm not good enough. That I don't know that I'm not good enough. That I'm not conscious of that fact. The next thing you say is, I offer loving acceptance to this denial. A little short pause, maybe a breath, because this is like, that has caused a lot of havoc in your life. And then you forgive. I forgive myself for believing or allowing this denial for so long. And next is the release. And you say, because I no longer or need or want denial in my life, I now offer it loving, big breath, release. Yeah? Now, it's not the judgment, it's the denial. Because the denial is what you want to get to. Judgments are easy. Once you have them in your fingers, they're easy. But denials are hard because they're hidden. And last is the replacement. I would now like to replace this denial with a new understanding that, and you give at least 6 reasons why you don't want denial in your life. This is reprogramming your intentionality and putting little soldiers in there that are going to help you, little heroes that are going to help you find your denials and bring them up to the surface for you. So here's some samples of why you do not want denial in your consciousness running your life. I want to know. Yeah? You want to know. I no longer need things hidden. Yeah, I don't need denial. I don't need to be hiding from myself or not knowing what's going on. Denial is not loving, and this is so true. You cannot give or get love from anything that's in denial, and denial holds you from embracing the totality of you. I cannot love what is in denial. My light must be able to shine into what has been denied. How powerful is that? I no longer want my greatness denied. What is denied is part of me. Denial blocks my love. Denial is no longer helping me. It did help you when you was a kid, but now it's not helping you anymore. So that's the process. First feel the discomfort. Then you recognize the denial. Then you offer loving acceptance to this denial. And because you no longer want or need this denial in your life anymore, you offer it loving release with a big exhale. That's a biofeedback mechanism, and you're actually training your whole subconscious to do this ritual. When the ritual comes, when the method comes, when this process comes, the time to do it, there's going to be a habit formed of actually connecting to all the dots and letting it happen. And then the replacement. Now, that's part one, and you need to do this a lot. I mean, 300, 400, 500 times, as many it takes as many things that you can find that are judgments and denials. You do that, and you do the denial replacement on every one until at some point the denials just come by themselves, and you rarely are caught off guard with something that you're not aware of, or something that catches you with your pants down. Then we go on to what the actual judgment was. And in this case, I'm using an example of I'm not good enough, right? Like I said, that's universal. Everybody's got it. It's just unavoidable because we live in a judgmental society. There's always this hierarchies. There's always somebody better than you, or maybe there's somebody worse than you. But so you always have this thing of I'm not good enough on some level. Maybe it's just small. Maybe it's your whole life is you're not good enough. But anyway, it's there in everybody, so I can use this one. So first you feel the discomfort. Take that in and feel what I'm not good enough has done to you and is doing to you, right? This is not something you want. This is not pleasant. This is not life-affirming. This is not life-giving. This is not life-sustaining, flourishing. So that's the discomfort. So then you start with the ritual or the process. You say, I recognize my judgment that I'm not good enough. I offer loving acceptance to this judgment. Short pause or breath. And I forgive myself for believing in this judgment for so long. Now, it wasn't your fault, but this stuff can mess up your life. So you're not a good enough husband, you're not a good enough lover, you're not a good enough provider, you're not a good enough whatever, devotee or whatever. You need to forgive yourself for that. Forgiveness. This path of language lesson art is perpetual acceptance and perpetual forgiveness. Accept what is, forgive your part in it. Forgive what happened to you. The next, because I no longer want or need this judgment in my life, I now offer it loving release. There's that biofeedback again, the big breath and release, and you will feel like a heaviness or a release, or you can feel it moving around down there. But at the same time, when you're saying, I offer loving release, try to have the mental image of some being, either a stick figure, or a little shadow, or the person that first said that to you. And imagine them actually going out through a door. They're leaving. I offer you loving release. Get out of my, you can go out of my house, you're gone now, you can go do what judgments do. That's the visual part. So we're using words. In the visual part, we're turning everything around. And the last thing you do is, I would now like to replace this judgment with the new understandings that. Okay? Now, the new understandings, you go to the same image of the door, or going out the hall, or going out the building, the same image, only new understandings are coming back in. These are actually archetypes. These are actually little helpers that you're putting in your intentionality, and but they're what you want, what is good for you. I would now like to replace this judgment with a new understanding that, and get at least 6 of them. And you can overdo it. If something is a big issue, do 20, it doesn't matter. So the judgment is I'm not good enough, you turn that around, I am good enough. And I am better than good enough. I'm excellent at many things. You cannot overdo this. Just cannot. You do as many as you want. I'm excellent at talking, or I'm excellent at cooking dinner, and I'm fantastic at playing on the internet. I'm a great internet person. You see what I'm saying? Is you is you refute, you deny your denials and refute what's refuting you. And give yourself openings to not just be not good enough. So every time any kind of not good enough thing comes, no, that's not true. You know, I'm fantastic. I'm a child of God. I have great love. I love my kids. I love my dog. I have all this great stuff that you got. That was, you were being held from indexing because of that judgment. And this goes on over and over again. So those are judgments and denial. And collection of judgments can be a belief. So, you have this belief of God. I'm going to use God as an example here, and heaven and hell, what a normal person believes, and then what happens when they're experiencing God or Jesus or something. So there's human beliefs, and then all of a sudden they all go, and I'm going to use that. And I'm using, I asked this Malinda K. Lyons if she'd let me use her near-death experience story. And so a collection of beliefs about God or about yourself or about life or about love, they are full of judgments. So judgments and beliefs are the same thing. So you have one belief about God, and then this whole little video is about her going somewhere else, and all of a sudden there's a whole other thing going on. And what beliefs and what judgments and denials did, how powerful they are, and how liberating they are when you don't have them. That's the whole thing. The liberation of a life without judgment. The liberation of a life without denial. The liberation of a life without needing to believe anything. It's amazing. That's a great gift. It's a great skill. The greatest skill you will ever learn is how to transform denial and release judgments. It's one of the greatest gifts. So I'm going to just put in text over, text where I go point out things when she's telling her story, so that you can hear what judgment is or what a denial is, and you can kind of get a feeling for this and that, because we're not trained to think in terms of judgment and denial, and yet that's what rules our life. I just want to bring out one point here. Malinda had this fantastic experience that she's talking about now, but when she came back from that near-death experience, she completely blocked it out. This is another form of denial. When really bad things happen, you can deny them, and they won't even exist in your brain. It's like for people who are molested and things like that. And also, when really good things happen, extraordinarily good things happen, because they don't fit in your beliefs tunnel, your belief system, they're denied until you can accumulate enough essence to be able to accept what's actually happening to you. So you can deny both the bad and extreme good. That's the power of denial. Is it's all the places that you can't go. You can't go to extreme pain. You can't go to extreme bliss. So you're stuck in a really small reality tunnel, a limitation, a constriction. And that's not very nice, considering what the potential of a human being is.
It's true. I have no other words to say for that. I'm going to skip a lot of the grand opening and description because this is a very long story. But to skip from the very beginning all the way to right where I was at when I got this information, and what I'm about to tell you is going to rock you. It's either going to make you react or respond. It's going to cause you to either fire up and be angry with ego, or you're going to feel validated in some way because you knew this inside of yourself. Today is going to be one of those moments. And I am just the messenger. I'm nobody special. I wasn't really chosen for this. It was more of an opportunity that happened to come up. Something that I didn't expect. When I was 18, I'm 29 now, I died and I went to heaven. This isn't going to be your average near-death experience tale, or better to say story, because yes, I did see the light, I was engulfed by it, and I'm just going to tell you, long story short, after a lot of greetings by other souls, very loving souls, by God Himself, who is not just a man energy, but He's female. He's both. That's why there is a balance of both. And I found myself in the glorious presence of Jesus and other angels in heaven. And He allowed me this once in a lifetime moment, probably in many other people, where I was able to know the whole truth about the course of who we are in spirit, who we are in energy, who we are in God. And what I'm about to tell you is not a religious viewpoint, and it's not even based off my own personal beliefs. In fact, when I came to Him, when I died, it was from a beef allergy out of the blue. That's how it happened, if you wanted to know. I was very religious at that time. And I felt in a lot of ways I was self-righteous. But I also had my own inner demons of bad experiences that happened to me that I felt would cause me to be judged. And when I was in heaven, there was no judgment. There isn't. That's one of the things I'm here to tell you is and share with you. There is no judgment in spirit. God never judged me. I never had to even say I was sorry, even though I was, for things that weren't even my fault. He never brought up the pain. Never brought up any of the mistakes that I made as a human. As being human in my human experience, to say. He just embraced me in this light of love. And this light wasn't just white, it was all colors imaginable. And I was even greeted by other souls and angels. It was spectacular. The judgment, I've learned, is a misinterpretation of the whole truth. The judgment is the judgment we give ourselves based on the ego, our pride, our fear, the unawareness of the whole picture. God doesn't judge you. Nope. Even if you stole a car, murdered somebody, raped someone, stole hundreds of thousands of dollars and didn't even care. Even if you had no remorse for any of it, He doesn't judge you. And that was the hardest part, because I believed that people would go to hell or a place that was justified. But they don't. And I was so angry in that moment with an angel who was talking to me, never missed a beat, never was angry. And he said, no, they don't. I said, but then what happens? Why? And the simplest answer came. He said, the only person who's judging them right now is you. And that hurt when I realized that. I said, but what about the families they hurt? What about them? He said, they forgive. And that realization that even when people have no remorse in the moment, are still forgiven, even if they don't even ask for forgiveness, they're still forgiven immediately, even before they've done it, because God knows what you're about to do. He knows everything about us. And I say he out of habit, but it's both man and woman energy. The alpha male, the alpha female. The yin and yang, if you want to, the yin and yang. The polar opposites, the balance. That's what God is. And when this realization came to me, I was in tears of mourning this idea that I was fed to believe, a friend told me. But then I was rejoiced in the realization that it was that easy. And I said, but then what happens when they want to go to heaven through entitlement? Do they go? And they told me yes and no. It's their choice. And they go through a process of healing and learning through those lessons by seeing through the eyes of the people they hurt. And he said, and it's the most powerful way of seeing what they've done. And a lot of mediums you'll see do that, talk about it. A lot of other people talk about that. But we don't really understand it when we hear it. We think we have an idea, but the gravity of how impacting and how powerful this is, it truly is indescribable of how impacting this is to each individual soul. And when they experience it even a little bit, the remorse comes through. Because then they understand, how could I do this to somebody else? And they start to see through the eyes of the people they hurt, and they start to really experience, like if they killed a child. I remember talking about that with an angel, with a spirit angel, and he said, it's the most powerful healing process ever. We don't damn them for not knowing what they did. That was Jesus' message, was forgive them for they do not know what they do. But what do we really mean by that? What does that really mean? And when I really saw this in heaven, it was mind-blowing. And even though with the ego, I thought that I understood it, I didn't feel it. I didn't understand it. The gravity of the transformational impact, the effective consciousness, the change, the realization, it wasn't there. Not till that moment. And I remember I even said, I will start to forgive them too. And I was crying, and he said, that's so nice of you. But I remember it was hard for some reason. And I said, but why does it hurt? And he said, because You're letting go of that pain of your past, and you're letting go of the identification and the false belief. You're healing. And when we heal, we cry. Crying is actually a healing process. A lot of people think it's being weak. It's not. It's healing. It's how our emotions are healing. But the most important message that's going to really rock a lot of people Jesus is not Jesus. And when I say that, I mean He's not the Son of God. We are all children of God, not just Jesus. We're all God's children. We all are, not just Him. And I'll never forget the moment when I was in the presence of His holiness. And I say holiness because He's still He's a high deity. And when I say high deity, I mean He is an ascended soul closest to God, which we all have the potential of becoming when we physically die here. We all have the potential of becoming angelic. And what He described to me was that His name is actually Yeshua. I didn't know that. Honest to God, I didn't know that. And the reason why I didn't know that is, one, I was very naive. I was only 18. I was still very innocent. I was still egoic. I was still living a life that was shallow. I didn't dig too deep. I didn't want to. It scared me. And I remember He said, "My name is Yeshua. It's not Jesus. And I'm here to share with you that the reason I'm telling you this is because you have the option to go back to earth when you remember this, to share people, to tell them of who they are in God, in the universe, in spirit." And I was like, what? He's asking me a favor right now? I was totally out of my woodwork. I was out of my element, obviously. And I remember vividly that He said, "Malinda, what I'm going to tell you is going to shock you, but the truth is, I didn't die for people's sins." Yeah, He said that. And I know it sounds really hard to believe, but you gotta think of why He said this. And don't think right now when you're hearing these words. Give yourself the opportunity to listen with your heart, with that God element that is inside of you. Because our minds are still ego-driven. It's our heart we need to listen to, not our ego. Not what we think. We need to focus on what we feel. And He told me that, He says, I didn't die to save anybody. It was a course of I want to say egoful, but what He actually said was, it was a negative reaction to people in that time, to what I was sharing with them, what I was trying to teach them, and the potential of who they are, who I discovered we were. And in that time, in a way, yes, it was a sacrifice But it wasn't to save anybody. It was to enlighten people to a higher state of consciousness, to a higher element of who they are, an awareness. And he stated to me, he said, Malinda, it is not me that saves them. He said, I'm so grateful that so many people come to me so often for saving them from their sins, he went. He says, but truly, only they can save themselves from destruction. Only they can save themselves from themselves. What he was talking about, what he means, is that it is us who need to look inside of ourselves to discover our true worth, our eternal DNA that is which God is us. He described to me that we are God in human form, that we are all basically tiny little reflections of God in human form, and that we are all God-like potential. We are all God. And this don't get me wrong here. This isn't about creating power, okay? This isn't about, and I understand if you're going, what is she talking about? This is about embracing the vibrancy of your love energy and truly honing the limitless potential that it is. Think about it. You were born from this big, massive source of life, right? Why wouldn't you have the same potential if you were his offspring? If you've got God here, and here's all his little family coming down, or wherever, within the universe, why wouldn't we have that same spark of potential? It didn't make sense to me for so many years, and when he described this, it went, oh my gosh, that's true! And I understand people are going to be thinking, this is crazy, that what she's saying is just nonsense. She's just talking about magic, or maybe she didn't see Jesus, and she, well, I call him Yeshua now, and maybe, she saw some guy who says he's the devil or whatever. No! Those are all things that were fed in the mind for centuries from a book. My Bible's over there. From a book that was written thousands of times. We don't know if any of that stuff was true. Think about that. Really use your consciousness, your common sense. Is the Bible potential to enlightenment? Absolutely. I'm not bashing the Bible. I'm not bashing any religion. I think there's still incredible steps towards enlightenment. But it's not the whole truth. It's not. And there's no such thing as one truth. There's the whole truth, which is God, which is illumination, which is enlightenment, which is self-discovery of your true potential that is inside of yourself, that always was and always will be a God-like being. We are all children of God. And when I say this, you have to really think about, what does that really mean? It doesn't mean that we are children per se. It means that we are creations of another creator. We have the potential to be God-like potential. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden we're going to try to play God, and control people. Or control situations, or, it's not my pride, it's not my ego. It's not like that. There's a difference with being God, or godlike, and playing God. There's a huge difference. You have to be absence of the ego to really embrace what I'm sharing with you today. Think about it too. God creates us. We were adapted from Him. We are the human expression of Creator, of Source. But He doesn't control me. He doesn't control you. He never did. He never will. So wouldn't that tell you a little bit about who you are? Really think about that. And God doesn't have a religion. There is no right or wrong about religion. They're just misinterpretations of the whole truth. The whole truth, from what I learned in my near-death experience, which was hours in conversation with Yahweh, with Jesus, Yeshua, whatever you want to call any of them. And I was only gone for a few seconds. And I'll never forget when I woke up in that hospital before I did, and they told me, they said, you're going to forget everything because you're going to push it down into your subconscious and you're going to repress it because you're not going to believe it at first for a long time. You're going to deny it. I said, I will. Why wouldn't I? They said, no, you will. And they said, when you come back, when you go back to your family, you will try, but you will stop. Because it will be so hard for you to believe and for them to believe you. And he was right. He even predicted to me that I would have a child out of wedlock. I was 18. And I did. He said, you will not be married to the father of your child, but you will be married eventually. Not for a long time. And he was right. I haven't been married yet. And my daughter is 7 now. A lot of the things he said came true. And what they allowed me the grace, the experience, the blessing, and the curse. The curse is that a lot of people put me in this place of the Antichrist, damnation. Oh, you were talking to the devil, witch, that's a popular one. And the reason why I have my abilities to connect with people that have crossed over is something that I didn't understand at first. I thought I understood it. But then again, the memory came back. The reason why I'm able to connect with people that have crossed over and why other people are too. And I can't really speak for everybody, but this was my experience, I suppose, but as far as that, but he showed me things that were going to happen in life. Here. I was 18, okay? I didn't understand what was going to happen. And people even may even try to say this is UFO. It's not. I can guarantee you it's not. Do they exist? Yes, but no, that's not what this is. And in fact, I think a lot of the times people think they get abducted by UFOs because they are confused, because they do come off as light beings, but it's not like that. He awakened my consciousness to a higher level of awareness. And even though when he did this and I went, oh my gosh, oh my God. And he was like, yeah, I know, right? I swear to God, I swear on my child's life, on my life, that's what happened, okay? This is stuff that really happened. And I still have a hard time really understanding why I had this experience, because I'm just me. I live in Alaska. I'm a single mom. I don't, I'm just me. And honestly, I still wonder why I even bother trying to share this story or talk about this stuff with anybody, because really, what can I do with this? I admit there's a part of me where I would love to go to all the churches in the world and share this story. Just to share it. That's it. And let you be the judge of what you think. But the fact of the matter is that we're not always going to have all the answers, even as near-death experiencers. I don't have all the answers. I don't understand. But I do understand this. That when one is given exceptional knowledge, they are given and granted an opportunity to do with it what they will. By the course of their free will. And I feel this is a test of mine. A test of endurance, maybe. Test of faith. Maybe it's just to see how I would react. I don't know. I still don't have all the answers. But I understand now where I belong as far as in God. That's what matters to me. And now I understand where everyone else is, where you are in God. Even when I look at my enemy, I see God now. That's an amazing change. I don't look at sinners. I look at powerful beings that are beyond incredible and creative and enlightened, and some that are unaware. And I can't look at any other person the same way anymore. It's truly changed me to the point where I'm not angry even at other people that I used to be angry at. And it's so much easier now for me to forgive. Does this mean that suddenly I'm perfect, that I should be labeled on this pedestal that so many people have this false idea of about people in near-death experiences or anyone who's enlightened? No, please do not put me on that pedestal. I'm asking you not to do that. Because I am still human. I still make plenty of mistakes. I still deal with my ego. The only difference is that now I have a responsibility in myself to share this information with you. That's all. I'm no better than anybody else. I wasn't chosen for this. It wasn't like God chose me. It wasn't like it was just a moment of getting the opportunity to have the answers that I always wanted, to understand, to embrace. And now I'm having the opportunity to finally, hopefully, give that to you. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, well, what do I do with this information now? What does this mean? What this means is that our purpose here is to love and to live in a way where we can help each other to learn how to love each other, how to not judge each other, how to not be products of our ego, and how to respond rather than react. How to be speakers of the whole truth that's inside of our heart, not something that was driven to us by closed-minded ideas and thoughts and beliefs. God doesn't have a religion. There is no religion in spirit. It doesn't exist to them. Their philosophy is love, mercy, forgiveness, gratitude, appreciation, joy, all those positive words you can think of. They don't look at you and think of a sinner and you need to cleanse yourself from your malicious ways. I used to be one of those people where I used to say, you're going to hell. I used to be one of those people. Oh my God, was I one of those people. And even after my near-death experience, I was even more. And do I still understand why? Yes and no. I think the reason why is because unconsciously I knew there was something enlightening that I experienced, but I didn't know what it was. And I even shut it down and said, no, it was probably a dream. And even when my mom said, Malinda, no, you almost just died. And I said, nuh-uh. She said, yeah, and I thought my mom was overreacting. And after that, my whole life changed. I responded differently. I didn't react anymore, I responded. A lot of the times. I changed. Did I still make mistakes? Yeah. Oh yeah. I still do. Especially before I really understood this message, before I understood the whole truth about us, about why we are here. And one of the other biggest reasons why we are here is because we chose to be here. You chose to live in this life to understand the human condition, to experience life in a physical presence. And when we come back, we go to heaven, we process those emotions and the experiences, but then we learn to let those transgressions go. And we say, that was a ride. And then we move on. Are there still lots of souls in spirit that are earthbound and that tend to end up going the opposite of love? Yes. I honestly still have a hard time accepting that souls would do that, but they do. And it's a tragedy. But they do it because they have yet to embrace the love. And sometimes never will. Because they're so consumed with hatred. And I pray each and every day that the more people that watch this understands that I am not sharing this to bash church or the Bible or God or religion or anything like that. I'm just the messenger in a modern time, in a modern day, sharing with you today what I went through and what the purpose was when I came back, in hopes that sharing this with you and maybe with others will spread for humanity to remember who they are in God and to be the person to calm others down and say, enough. Forgive. Enough. Just move forward. That's the growth. And yet this is so basic. It's very basic. I know there's a lot more. But yet this alone, this message alone, I know is going to be very difficult for many. And if it's even difficult for you to even understand this, if you've even finished watching this video, whether or not you got so angry and cut it off, I don't know. I was there before, and it shook me so much. But then when I accepted it and learned and saw and felt what Yeshua was telling me, I was able to finally embrace the truth that I was always accepted in God. No matter what mistakes I made, that's the message of heaven. That is the message of Jesus, Yeshua, Yahweh, whoever you want to call him. That's the message he came for. And that's the message that I'm telling you now.